Hi. Damien, you look great. And I mean, I can talk about my love and hate for Slovakia, but I think that's later. So I'll talk about emotion and science of emotion. Max, also like those rings were great. I think we should distribute them more. I think that's fantastic. Okay, how's everyone feeling today? Maybe excited, inspired, imagining what you could do over the next few weeks and months. Maybe ready for lunch, perhaps. I think the real question I have for everyone is: have you ever been frustrated at work? Okay, and have you ever like lost your shit with people, or like do you tend to just like suppress it with everything that you have? I imagine you like hold it in. And I think because we all know better, I think. Like we know that emotions have no place in business, right? Like it makes us look volatile, unpredictable, like we don't know what we're doing. Like we need to be rational, right? Like we make data-driven decisions in our lives. Yet, I think we all know 95% of every decision that we make is guided by system one, how we feel, and then we justify it to ourselves later. And that influences how we are as people, as partners, as marketers, as colleagues. And those feelings impact how we operate. And brands that understand this, that build distinct emotional advantage from the understanding of how people make their decisions, do tend to win. I think they tend to command unfair share of the market. They tend to have more of a price insensitivity. And I think they're also much easier to love. I think Michal's comments on McDonald's just in the previous presentation give you a perfect example of that. But I think to be really dramatic, to kind of have us imagine where we could go, I really do believe fundamentally that the future of business depends on how we feel. I sincerely believe that you cannot invent the future. You cannot define your future growth as an individual or as a business owner, as a brand manager out of a spreadsheet. Like what you're doing, you're simply optimizing the present. You are not inventing the future. And I think the future requires of us to take leaps, to imagine, to feel. So I think let's feel a little bit. I'm Tomas. I'm from Košice, further south. I live in New York, and I feel really lucky to represent our strategic community at DDB on this stage with you today. I'm big into FE's effectiveness, and I'm a planner. There'll be charts in the presentation. Don't worry, you'll be asleep by the end of this. I'm also a dad, so I'm a bit tired, but very excited and hopefully patient with all of this. But I'm also extremely frightened. I think I'm like public speaking, not great. I tend to like listen to consumers, to clients, and make a little brief. So help me along the way. Don't worry, we won't be doing any like hand-raising exercises, but let's enjoy each other. I'm also feeling quite nostalgic. It's I've never actually worked in Slovakia, but I think Jerzy, you made a comment earlier. I love the creativity that comes from this region, and everything that I can do in the role that I have is to help uplift the talent that we have in this part of the world. So it's a real privilege to be here, and also I feel honored too because I think you have 3 of these events a year, and I think they represent the best of what the Polish marketing scene believes in. So I think it's a big honor to be here. But I have to say I'm just really not comfortable right now because how should I put this? An Eastern European man talking about these feelings. Just work with me, okay? I just think it's a good access for everyone. Just professional, personal life. I think it's a good thing. And the reason I think it's really important is because we all know that business has become so rational. And I think we all know why. I think it's because the F word, finance. I think at any point in any company that you work in, there is a battle for the soul of that business between finance and marketing, where finance is trying to extract value, marketing is trying to create it. And as marketers, I don't think we have our act together. I think we bicker with each other. We confuse brand and performance. We question creativity. And I think finance know exactly what they want to do, right? I think measure the performance, allocate investment accordingly, and they're very, I think, impartial that way. And I think because of that, I think so many of the campaigns that we do, so many brands that we lead, are starting to feel, I think, quite boring and quite rational. Now, I think in that mindset, I think everyone is asking the same question: when's the lunch going to be served? In 25 minutes. Just bear with me. I think the question that everyone's asking is this annoying last part of the entire value chain, creativity. How can we optimize, personalize, automate this thing? Because it's just annoying. I think when Guillermo was talking at the start of the day, it's like unlock your genius, candy. It's great, but it's like how do you like drive the efficiency out of it? Like you cannot plan for it. And of course, I think that in the previous session we spoke about AI for a little bit. Like we all are learning very quickly how to do that extremely well. I think we do this ourselves in the agency. The example for a pet nutrition client where you can easily these days just sketch a type of a breed you would like to have in an asset, which very quickly translates into a visual concept, which very quickly translates into an unlimited, very personalized, multi-touch point digital solution. But I firmly believe that it's potentially the wrong question to be asking of the future that's in front of us as a creative industry, because I also believe that what AI is going to do for our industry is going to make it much easier and much more democratic for anyone to blast messages out there to everyone that are high production value seemingly, that are very personalized, that you'll be able to go on Max or Disney and get your personalized episode of your favorite show, like based on your taste or the types of outcomes that you would like. But I think the risk that comes with that, when everyone's got the tools that are available, everyone can do it with ease, is that you can very easily end up in a world like this. Now, I would like to know if anyone could call out a brand that they recognize on this picture. That's okay. And if there are any non-car enthusiasts in the room, if you can recognize, can make a real distinction between these vehicles. Even at the product level, they're starting to look the same, with the same level of exciting sand all over the wheels and with the right angle. And if anyone can tell me the name of their olive oil brand in their kitchen, I would be delighted. But I think more importantly, it's not just the visual design, like things that I think everyone jumped to with AI immediately, right? I think there's just the obsession with text to image, text to video. Even at the conceptual level, we're getting to a place of conformity and mediocrity, where, it's not your average grapefruit, not your mother's grapefruit, not your grandma's cookbook, not your dad's DDB, And I think what this creates for us is that Dow generic advertising that's optimized, personalized, delivered in the light of speed is still dull. What it does, it simply numbs people and it wastes money. I'm sure you've all seen the lovely cost of dull study. I think we are all as creators, as marketers, I think we're all very happy to make rational dull work. Like we can all do it, right? It's not impossible. Like I'm sure I've done some before. But the amount of money that you have to overspend in order to achieve the same business outcome is simply doesn't make sense. But still we do it and focus on risk management and doing what feels comfortable. Now I think more importantly also, I think it makes brands less distinctive and less wanted. I mean, Nike's market share is his share price is 27% down this year. And I think we've all seen the studies of this obsession with performance, with just pushing content out there versus staying close to the audiences they're supposed to serve and shaping culture as opposed to mirroring it with their personalized content. And I think distinct brands win, right? I think at the most fundamental level of how companies look at the value of brands on their balance sheets, the intangible asset of brands, their most distinctive, is disproportionately higher than the brands that are your average. And I think it's not rocket science. Like we all know this, but it's just really hard to do because it requires discipline and I think very actively rejecting this notion of staying with what makes sense rationally. I think also importantly, when you look at it from share price standpoint and valuation standpoint, the interbrand data on kind of what the global best brands and how they perform, like the stock market kind of trades futures for a reason, because the market is trying to understand which brands have the best momentum to define societies for the future. And therefore, I think this to me is less about, well-run brands and, the assets, but at the fundamental level, does the world believe that this brand has a future like the best brands do? And I think what really matters to me is then, how do we go about doing that? We firmly believe that building the deep emotional memory structure is the most effective way of developing a distinctive asset for your brand. And the question really is for me, how can we harness this power of emotion to build distinctiveness? Now, emotions are, I think, really messy, right? I think we've kind of established that they're physiological, automatic, unconscious, they're prelingual. So it's really hard to measure, right? Really hard to kind of build a study that helps you to understand beyond very basic sentiment. Projection bias gets in the way very quickly. I think what gets interesting is when you think about emotions as something that happens in context of your life or culture in which you live, they turn into something more complex feelings, right? They are multifaceted. There's something like nostalgia, right? That is both warm and potentially a bit sad, something that we can study. And we've been on a mission over the last few months to measure feelings at scale. And really, I think then on the back of it, give brands the ability to build an edge on the back of it, to build an emotional advantage, as we call it. I'm here to kind of tell you a bit more about very fancy title, the Feels Barometer. It's our proprietary research that we commissioned to really get under the skin of the subject, because I think it's fundamental to the effectiveness of the work that we do. And at a glance, it's really, I think, a result of consultation with the world's foremost academics on emotion to understand how to study this topic in a serious way. It's a result of tests in various cultures, Western, Eastern, so for instance, feelings of shame are demonstrated in different ways with people. We built a really lovely method around how we can kind of measure feeling based on intensity, the shape that it resembles, kind of sound that it creates for you. It's really wonderful. And I think it's something that I think we owe it to ourselves as an industry to kind of give respect to the consumer and truly trying to understand them. I think we ran the study across a number of countries to get to, I think, one view of, I think, what really matters to people. And we've shaped the study across 100 or so statements that ask questions of people in how feelings influence their human lived experience. And we divided into 3 core areas. Feelings related to me. How do I go about my life? My physical expression, my identity, things like that. Topics around we, us as a family, as a social circle. How do we connect with one another? What really matters to us? How do we work together with people? And then as societies, how do we think about technology? How we think about the environment? How we think about what we mean to each other? And it was fascinating, to be honest. Because I'm just give you a kind of quick snapshot of it. The most negative feeling, which to me is fascinating, and the most kind of intense one, is this feeling of being hacked or scammed without you kind of necessarily knowing about it. Now, I think that in itself, I think we can all relate to, right? If it ever happened to you, it's really, I think, soul-destroying and disempowering. But when we go down to the skin of it, people in France feel like this is the institutions failing them. That you feel that you trust the world around you and the institutions failed to protect you. Whereas people in Australia, for instance, feel like this is their personal violation, that they're kind of left on it on their own. Now, as a telco company or a banking company, you need to do something about that in different ways, right? What's also quite interesting is because the 100 statements, only 29 of them, we are roughly similar as cultures. The rest of them, we are wildly different. I think that's worth, respecting. Then secondly, choosing to purchase something with credit feels like, and it wouldn't surprise you, in the US, for people, this means optimism, capitalism. Let's just buy stuff and, deal with it later, have some other country pay for it. Whereas in Sweden, it means moral bankruptcy, which I think is, it's deeply European and very appropriate. And again, I think if you're trying to sell Amex products around the world, you really have to think differently about how you tap into those emotions if you are to be successful, next to your APR and interest rates and all of the other communication. I love this one personally, especially going into the holidays as well. A family dinner without technology and phones feels like. And I think there's a kind of cluster of feelings around warmth and familiarity, and I think being around people that I think really matter to you. But on the other hand, it's deeply discomforting for people. I think you would expect this topic to just be overtly positive, and yet I think we have become so used to our devices that it's actually, we feel exposed and uncomfortable when you have to have a conversation with someone for a prolonged period of time, as opposed to escape into this, to either find a topic to talk to someone about or to just simply zone out. And then lastly, I want to share this one because this pretty much universally was the most intensely positive feeling that we've seen in the study. Getting a really good price on a purchase feels like this. And I think, isn't it funny that people getting a good bargain is the most emotive thing that we've discovered, and yet as marketers we think of price, decision making based on price, as the most rational thing that people do, right? You just kind of compare costs and you choose the kind of price that makes sense for you. Now that to me is really interesting when you think about any holiday discounting, how you think about the definition of value for your brand. But I think throughout what we've really learned is that emotion is an untapped resource. It can be studied, it can be measured, it can be leveraged to define your position. And I think we should really lean into it. I think because I think there is tremendous potential for how we can authentically and meaningfully connect with people. Being from DDB, of course, every single presentation has to include a Bill Bernbach quote. I see our CEO here right in the first row. I'm not going to ask him what his favorite quote is. He doesn't have a mic. I'm sure he has many that he likes. But one thing that's relevant here is I think Bill said that only art can make you feel and only feeling can make you act. And to me, there is a enduring truth to that in the work that we do, if people don't feel it, even at the price level, then nothing will happen. It'll zone out, it'll go to TikTok and forget that we've ever existed. I'm also acutely aware of is that working at a creative agency like DDB, you expect me to now show you a TV ad, or the solution is a high production story. And I think that is potentially true, but I think it's so much more than that. What I think is fundamental for us, and I don't think we think this, we feel it, we know it, that emotional creativity is the fastest and most proven way to growth. I think too many people just blink when it happens. And I think when I say emotional creativity, I mean the type of work that Michal mentioned. I'm not sure if he's still with us. That's happening here in Poland, where year after year we create anticipation, where consumers kind of promote what's about to get to the market before we do. Or in our work in Australia, where a 40-year-old song is being made relevant to today's consumers through a TikTok-first campaign. It's an AI campaign in Germany that is all about, educating parents on what parent sharing means for the risks for their kids in the future. It also means putting on Broadway musicals instead of Super Bowl ads. It means addressing topics that no brand should really doesn't feel comfortable going to, but yet they create, I think, sense of hope in otherwise hopeless environment. It also means create furniture when that's what the brand needs in order to create an emotional connection with the consumer. And even in our work with US Army that is very much focused on precision marketing, even that is an environment where we convey to someone that their future, their career is something that we understand and we embrace. I think that's an opportunity as well. I think I find that, for instance, when we get to the most hardworking channels, that's where we abandon the consumer the most. But it, of course, also means, unleashing the brands into new categories with new feelings, where I think there might be a category norm for what's expected of trust or of entertainment. And I think introducing a completely new paradigm can give you an edge. And also making cats, feel something about your brand. I just included that because that cat looks just unhappy. And yet I think we all want to do this kind of work. I love the panel with marketers just now, because I think we are all as an industry kind of on the same page, right? Like we all want to do it, and yet I think this is this data from a couple of months ago. In the US, 47% of all ads that air make people feel nothing and therefore do nothing. It's just an investment where someone just went through the motions to get the campaign out there, went through all the approvals and put it out, and it literally achieved no emotional impact because there's little of it out there. And I think the reason for it, I believe, is because it's just really, really hard. I don't think any of the leaders that we saw here today kind of wake up in the morning and say, like, hey, I would really like to make some dull advertising, but I think it's just really, really hard, because I think what we understand from Contagious is seeing an idea that you've never seen before feels like poison. Like the closest physiological reaction to seeing something that is like it tries to interfere with the world that you believe in, feels like poison. I think that I have a question for you. If you've bought an idea or if you've developed an idea that hasn't been done before, like what does that say about you and your relationship with poison? And then if you kill ideas a lot, like what also that says about your relationship with poison? So I think I wanted to kind of leave you with a few kind of fairly, I think, simple but important things. I think there are two fundamental questions ultimately that, for my people, I try to make sure that it's literally their wallpaper and on their desktop. Like, first of all, in the work that we do, the insights that we develop, the way we define the audiences, type of creative work that we develop, does it move you, right? Does it trigger a reaction in a measurable way? Because then if we do that, we will answer the question very clearly, how it moves the business, right? Once we now understand what the enduring emotional connection, emotional advantage is, we have a demonstrative proof of what it does, what it means for the business. Now, I think what is fundamental to all of this is that it starts with change management. I don't think it's just a nice presentation before lunch. It is about, I think, coming to terms with the fact that people are irrational, and I think that's beautiful. And I think it's unreasonable and it's infuriating, but it's who we are. And I think turning that irrational nature of humanity into a rational strategy for growth. Because to my point on untapped resource, I think that's what emotion can be for us. And I think in doing so, I think turning emotional advantage into a business advantage. And I think my dream is that I think, any brand out there, whether it's ownership of sense of control or safety for people or protection, provides that. I even love the BMP example from earlier because I think there's true value there. So my call is to find yours. I think if you work on a brand, maybe over lunch, have a think about what it is, because I think it'll make buying work easier. It'll make justifying it to the finance team easier. And I think we'll see a lot more lines from Poland on the back of it. I want to leave you with just a quick little story. Few weeks ago, I had a bunch of university students come in for a master class to the agency. Professors asked us to do a talk on impact of Gen AI on the future careers of marketers. This is a global marketing program. Future marketers of L'Oreal and LVMH. It was design focused school, and we took them through DDB's Gen AI tools. We have a proprietary suite, goes all the way from insights generation to creative concepting to kind of writing copy to testing the copy in market to even troll proofing the idea. And we asked them to come up with a holiday campaign for Disney. Went away, came back, and you probably know what it was, right? It was personalized videos. We need to embrace different cultures and do a series. There needs to be snackable social content, and maybe we should do nothing at all, because the troll proofer told us that the world is so divided that if you try to do something that connects people, it's too much of a brand risk. So you might as well not do anything at all. Just sit it out. And I think it's certainly a way of going about it. But then I played them our response. Disney is a client of ours. We just launched the holiday campaign for them. So I'm going to play it to you as well. Hope you enjoy it, and thank you.